when I was much younger. Yeah, basically I'm from Goa, and the industry was far away, Pune to Mumbai. I always was fascinated with this world of storytelling, make believe. So yeah, so it was a drive to tell stories. The inspiration was being from Goa's, small town in those days. So there was our mothers to always tell us stories, you know, and bedtime stories. But and it used to be fascinating. So most of the time we never heard the ending because we would sleep through that. But whenever she started it, she used to always keep us engaged. So over the years, I understood it was the same story with different names and different backgrounds. So that is the strength of storytelling. So there are not many stories, but how you tell, how you create your world, how you create your characters, how you pace it, create a rhythm. So that was fascinating. Then I said, like, okay, on screen it should be a different experience because this is hearing and you create your own world. And film, you get the opportunity to create what you imagine, you know. So that fascination got me to this industry. I do write a lot of my stuff that I direct, you know, and a director basically has to have the overall knowledge of editing, uh, structuring of stories, how you create the world, sense of music, and things like that. So basically, you're a master of everything. So that's why I think the director is called the captain of the ship. So it's very important for a director to know the craft of editing for sure. So you might not actually sit on the machine, but when you're doing your mise en scene and all, you should know how you're going to edit it, how you're going to create a rhythm, because every story has a certain rhythm, uh, and that can be only put together on the editing table. So yeah, so uh, you have your as being a director, you have so many people as part of your team. You know, so that's why I thought I write also, I direct also. And you have control of your vision. I think as a director of any this thing, you should be a good listener. You know, so when an actor comes on the set, they already know the scene, they already know the story, and as a director, I have a certain vision. How I want to go about with it. But if you want the best out of your talent, then you let them do what they understood by it. So it's like you put a boat in the water. If it's flowing with the current, and that's how you want it to be going, so then it's fine. So you'll see a lot of surprises, waves, yeah, ripples, and things like that. But if the actor is going completely against and you want him to swim against the tide, that's when you harness the situation, explain to them, give your point of view. But if you want the best out of the actors, then I think you should let them the freedom to interpret and choose what is good, you know. So, yeah, being patient is very important because negative energy on the set only destroys the creative process. So I think it's better to think with a cool mind, then I think you're more focused. Yeah, so I was doing Jojita Sikandar with Mansoor at that time as a chief. And yeah, there was a lot of cast change because of whatever situation that time. Earlier, there were different set of actors and things like that. And then a lot of it was reshot because Mansoor felt, uh, he has to cast it right, and you have to have the positive this thing. So Ankush joined us when we were doing the second phase of the reshoots and things like that. So he was young. He was also from the film background. His father was a producer. He wanted to be an actor, director, things like that. So I think when you meet like-minded people, you share ideas and things like that. So we hit it off. Uh, though he was my junior, just to share ideas, bounce ideas, watch VHS movies together and things like that. And yeah, the journey continued for the period of time. We're still doing stuff together, sometimes independent. you know. But yeah, we've been together since then. Yeah, in Jojita, all the ADs have done some part or the other. Even I was there. this, this thing. But yeah, Ankush has done a bit of acting when we used to produce, you know, uh, episodic stories for television. Then we did a series called Wo for Z. That was our first production. So we wrote the story, directed it, co-produced it with USL, UTV, and he was one of the principal characters in that series also. So yeah, Ankush he's done theater and things like that. But yeah, I think he enjoyed direction more, and he also does bit acting. Like the last series that we did, Arya Par for Disney Hotstar. They also are showrunner Goldie, Siddharth Sen Gupta. He made him do a small part while we were in Azerbaijan. So yeah, the acting kid are still there, but yeah, it's more direction and writing. Yeah. See, there are a lot of young, brilliant minds that have come, in on OTT films, television, and things like that. But many of them give more importance to technique than content, because for a filmmaker, I think constructing of the story is the core, the most important part, versus big gadgets and big equipment, and so a lot of youngsters tend to concentrate more on the technique than to tell a story. You know, so that is there's this conflict. Is it supposed to be a good-looking film, or it's supposed to be a good story told well? You know, so that conflict is there, but sooner the people understand it, because keeping it simple is very difficult. Whether it's Mansur Khan or Aditya or Surat Bhattacharya, So if you notice, their stories are very simple, but they stay with you for a lifetime, you know, because their characters got soul, you know, and they're told very simply and effectively. So I think, like even the earlier generation, they concentrate more on the core of the story. That's the soul, uh, not just the gimmick. So I think, yeah, a lot of youngsters have lost that uh, bit, and they concentrate more on technique than storytelling. Yeah, when we started, there were no monitors, and every can used to cost a lot of money. So it's today it's on a reusable chip, so that cost factor is reduced. And when you're limited staff, you're more alert. Today, a lot of youngsters, they don't understand lensing. Earlier, we would observe, when you put a certain lens, what is the field of vision, you know, what is the field depth, that kind of a thing. So we understood the basic of, filmmaking, because we didn't have monitors. Very sometimes some generous DOPs or cameramen used to allow you to. Uh, I was fortunate because I was chief in the 4 films that I assisted. So by default, I used to get this thing. So I used to see the difference between the lenses that were chosen by the director and the DP, to convey a certain message. Where today it is, people don't know the difference between lenses. So they are very comfortable with the variable zoom, you know. So it is like you want to tie it, you want this thing, but there is a certain madness to understanding, what and why you choose a certain lens, why you choose a certain background, why you choose a certain time of the day to shoot a certain scene. It's technical, but yeah, when you read a story, I think subconsciously you have a certain vision in your mind. I mean, if a character is sad, is walking, on a lonely street, so the written lines itself gives you the visual. A bad example could be like if I see a couple walking with a red umbrella in a mist, and you play a romantic music, it becomes romantic. In the same mist, if you have a couple with a red umbrella, you know, and if you play dramatic music with ambient, wolf in the this thing, so it suddenly becomes a thriller. Nothing is changed, it's just the change of background, you know, the subconscious state that you put change the whole mood of the scene, the context. So it is that, I mean, understanding that is, I think, very important. The war was fascinating because it was an adventure, and it also focused on 2 timelines, the childhood and the present. And the challenge of making a clown, a scary element was the big challenge. And if you noticed, war was a brightly lit psychological horror. So it was not a dark, high contrast, it was bright, yet it was scary, you know. So the whole idea was to make it, there's a certain pattern when you do horror or psychological. It's very, uh, I mean, that's technical, but it is very important. So a lot of it depends on how, your character breathes on screen, you know. So if a character is excited, his heart rate is high, so, and it's the way he says, okay, 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 I'm come first and things like that. But the same character, his breathing pattern is high, and if he says there's a monster, you know so it is how a character breathes and how you break that distinct, because a lot of our young thriller or horror directors, they cut the scene with music. Now, music is got beats, 2 beats, 4 beats, 8 beats, and things like that. So the moment you cut a scene with the beat, it is very predictable. But if I'm editing a scene, keeping the breath pattern, I want to make the audience uncomfortable. I'm going to, this thing. So I don't cut it with the beat, but I cut it with a certain rhythm of, I make you anxious, and then you shock. So it is, it's technical, but if you observe a good horror film, you'll understand what I'm saying. Now, when it is cut with a good music rhythm versus you just play with silence, you don't let them judge, because music, you tend to grow, and then the bang, So you kind of anticipate it. But if you're treating a scene with silence and just ambient sounds, and then a big bang also will, rattle you. So yeah, so there was a lot of challenges in Wo because it was dealing with coming of age, friendship, young kids becoming heroes, normal kids. So there is a hero in all of us. So that was the whole exciting. There was romance, there was bullying and things like that. So it was a fascinating story to tell. And there is a story of the Joker also. So it was not just a scary, it was a dwarf who was victimized. Society blamed, the father blames the mother, that you give me a dwarf child, and it can't be mine, that kind of thing. So he was a demonized victim, you know. I mean, so he was not just evil. He had a story, he had a purpose, he had a journey, because every child, whatever it is, it's your own, you know. But sometimes society forgets that. So you don't become negative, but society sometimes forces you to be, evil. So that was the message, which, if you see all the 52 episodes, you get. So you kind of humanize the villain, you know. So that was challenging to how to humanize the villain, you know. It's like trying to make Gabbar, human. So yeah, so that was exciting to take that journey. Yeah, so we had a big debate with a psychiatrist, child psychiatrist, which is there in one of the magazines, a big debate. So he said, see, there are shows of horror on television, but it's not impacting the children. In fact, they are laughing when they see the monsters, you must be knowing what shows I'm talking about. So kids were not this thing, but this show is saying like a lot of kids are getting impacted because they want to watch it, but they'll hide behind the mother and view it. So the theme of the show became very popular. The rattling of the na 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 na. It became very popular in that. So he was saying, why are we as filmmakers making such scary shows? But so that time my argument was like, yeah, see, there is always a choice. The choice lies with the parent, Either you switch, or there are so many sports channels. There are so many channels which teach you good religion. So you don't see this show if it's impacting your child. But you don't tell me to bastardize my knowledge or technique of telling a story effective, you know. So the choice is always there with you. If it's having an impact, I mean, the parents should supervise and guide them to, or just make them brave and experience something which is being shown. And there was nothing vulgar, perverse, or this thing. It was just psychological uh, scare that was there. So yeah, we did have those debates and things like that. In fact, Lilibai, who played the Wo, uh, he was saying like uh, kids come and shake hands with him. There was a time where kids used to look at him with a certain look. Oh, there goes a dwarf. You know, saying he somehow celebrated his, you know, because of. So yeah, it had its good and bad effects, and I think more good than bad. It's usually so you go to a circus and you want to see the clowns doing it. You want to be in the front row to get a closer look at when the clown interacts with the audience, and all. You want to be that child in the audience, or that participant to interact with that. So they are fascinating. And here we were doing the reverse of it. And yeah, we wanted a short stretch of this thing because the backstory of Wo was about a dwarf child, Spauna. So who were basically demonized by the society. There are, even today, we look at a short uh, child or a man or a woman with that certain look, you know, of curiosity. But they're normal people. They have the same emotions, same blood, everything. So I think every human, whatever it is, should be celebrated like humans. You know. Even Ankush, we both wanted Lilibai to play the thing because we have seen some of his stage plays and all things like that. Because he's to be a fantastic performer on stage, but in films he was always used like a sidekick. So Lilibai always said the role that he did in Sagar and in Wo give him meet as an actor to perform. You know, but otherwise, always in films you use fat, thin people, short people. As sidekicks or part of somebody's joke. So here it was strong characters. You know, which made a statement. So we humanized them. I think that was what Lilibai also said. Like, thank you for offering and giving me this as a human and as an actor. So it was a very challenging role for him also to play, you know, to be lovable, to be scary, and in the end, he had his own story to tell, which is very sad. We were inspired from it because we had seen it was a huge hit as a book also, that kind of thing. But see, if you read it, Pennywise didn't have it was a monster, you know. So yeah, the imagery and friends getting together, you can never uh, move away from that concept. But if you're doing a story about friendship, it is bound to be compared to some film or the other, that kind of thing. But it is also a story about this dwarf prince. I mean, he was born in a royalty, and he was thrown into this thing. He was the favorite in college, and his backstory. All the girls and everybody used to like him till he fell in love and proposed. So that's when the girl said, "You belong to the circus. Meaning, you can be a good friend, but you can't be, my lover." But he was human, you know. So that's how he wears the paint of the clown and commits suicide, for him to become this. So there is a very human, touching story to it versus the comparison. We can't defy that. But I think it's very original in terms of all the characters. Uh, Meaning all the seven characters, they had a certain backstory which was very different, you know. And so is the Joker story. Yeah. We are in touch. I mean, we meet Ashutosh. I mean, we did the series also, Everest, as directors. We did the second unit of Panipat. We're doing some biopic with him as a producer. Mamek, we meet on and off. Nasir also has this thing. Amit, unfortunately, is not with us anymore. Passed away. Ankush is there. Sonali and all we have, and Seema we have not with. But yeah, the rest of the guys, we are in touch. Keep bumping and meeting and in touch. And so the youngsters, I mean, there was Shreyas Talpadi also. He played the junior version of Achutosh in that series. So there were a lot of debuts, like Juhi Parmar was the first show. In fact, even Nasir used to do ads and this thing, but this was his first full length feature. You know, Seema also similarly, even Shonali for that matter. So yeah, a lot of debuts. Ankush also made his debut. Malvankar, that was his first uh, show. You know, he is doing very well for himself. Jayesh Patil, the writer, came on board. So he used to work in a bank, used to write plays, and so he used to write in the train when he used to go back from his State Bank town office to Borivali. So yeah, there have been some interesting journeys, and we have grown from that. Uh, and yeah, there were no ego clashes, so I think those bonds remain longer. So the moment you have egos coming in on the set, then it destroys a lot of positive space. Yeah, but I think, see, Wo was our first show as filmmakers, because independent. Before that, we had only assisted, and then we used to do music videos and things like that. So there were a lot of things which was done on instinct, like right from the closes to how the scenes were crafted and things like that. So it was a very different for television. I mean, those extreme tight closes and things like that to create the drama and all, because otherwise, that conventional, you do that. So even the techniques, the VFX, a lot of it was very new to the television industry. And yeah, the support was there because of USL, which was a post production. They had some of the best graphic team and compositors. So we managed to get some good talent onto the show. And yeah, doing it again would be kind of a suicide because you can't repeat that, instinctive feeling. Now you'll be probably too over smart, overthink, and destroy it. It has happened. So we move on to telling new stories. Ssshhhh Koi Hai, basically the title also was given by us. So Kontilo brothers, so they had come to us because they wanted to start their own production house. And Uday Singh of Cinevista was a friend. So he asked us to kind of help them out, And so we did the whole title packaging of the show, we wrote stories, the thing, sent the template. We gave it a certain grade for that show. And that time we used to also produce. We had a tools company with our production office. So we set it up, and then they carried forward. I mean, today Contilo started from there. So yeah, even the title was suggested by us, and yeah. So there was time the people said like they are very good with horror, you know, and we said no. I believe I'm a good storyteller. So they had shot Shakalaka Boom, two pilots, and it was rejected. And Zarina told us there's this concept, a pencil you draw and the thing, some fantasy with kids. And so why don't you direct it? And we did Shakalaka Boom, and it became a cult. You know, so it is not a typical genre. I mean, if you have a good story to tell, uh, you know, and if you know the craft, I think you'll tell it. There was some issues uh, as this thing because sometimes when you make something very successful and effective, uh, you get a lot of marriages. you know, so either you stay in a bad marriage or you step out. So that has was a journey there. Yeah, but yeah, then we did after that we did Shakalaka, or which also did very well. And then we were doing Thriller at 10, star bestsellers. So there was a lot of work happening in that thing. We also did Rich Stage, primarily good love stories. So yeah, I mean, it was all this television directors like Imtiaz, Anurag, you know, us, uh, which came from a good cinema background, cinema literate. We the hard way, right from shooting on a negative to the journey has been very fruitful and effective. Yeah, you know what your characters are. It's a laid back character or it's a agey character or this thing. So energy is something you can't create. You know, either you have it or you don't have it. But then there are also actors who are switch on and switch off, like the late Sridevi ji. Like she's very different as this thing, but once she's in front of the camera, she just transforms. You know. So, but you get to know them. But usually, when you're casting for this thing, you want to. For me, I need to know how that person walks, he, she, and the eyes are most important because the eyes of an actor becomes the character. You know, so a lot of people go by the overall face, but for me, the eyes of a person is very important. No, but we are in touch on and off. Like Mamek has worked in Wo with us. He's done some independent stories. When Ssshhhh Koi Hai started, the way independent stories, they didn't have a face of the thing. Later they changed it to which Mamek and all took it forward to a very successful brand it became. But we are in touch. We have. It's been long that we have worked together, but we do keep in touch and inquire about each other's well-being. And if something is there, the future, yeah, I would definitely because I know him since Jojita days, so it's the longest. See, I mean, he's like those. He's got those honest eyes. He's a man, tough, but he can look very soft. Like that's why Mansoor had cast him in Jojita also, as the elder brother. Somebody who can take care. You know, he has the physique. He has the honesty in his eyes. Uh, you know, if you put tears in his eyes, you feel for him, though he's a big man. So it's a very lethal combination for an actor to have. You know, some of our superstars today, uh, like Shah Rukh Khan, can look uh, completely uh, mad, and at the same time, you feel for him. When you see tears in his eyes and things like that. So that's the magic of those eyes. You know, the great Bachchan himself. I mean, he's got that eyes which you can mold either ways. He's got the intensity. He's got the romance in this. He's got that brooding. So not many actors are blessed with those kind of eyes. Uh, yeah, maybe a lot of them have good faces, but the eyes is for me most important because when you're watching a film or a show, you look at the actor's eyes, a character's eyes, not the mouth. You know, so the eyes is what convinces the audience to whether he's become the character or he's just that another actor playing a certain character. I think it is quite simple. I mean, Arya Par, it is like Sirju's coming of age. So where the series, the first season ends, it is like, I mean, he's lost his near and dear ones. Will he take a revenge? What is the journey from there on? So it is becoming of a hero. You know, it is not a hero. He was been manipulated in the whole series, if you see. But here now he has to take a path. So it's basically collateral with civilization and indigenous tribes and things like that, which is happening all around the world. I mean, we are getting into spaces where we shouldn't. This thing, everybody's only saying that the environment is being destroyed and the deforestation is happening, and you know, but we are not. When you equate money with natural resources, we are very easily destroying the natural resources. So that collateral will happen. Yeah. He was already casted like Siddharth, like Goldie. He had casted all the characters and things. So it was not we chose. We came later, when the casting everything was put because Siddharth was the showrunner and he had done the casting. But Ashish and me, we had worked earlier. I mean, he was part of Bazi, which was Ashutosh's second film, and I was the associate director. So yeah, it was a reunion after many, many, many years. So it was good working. He's a sharp, uh, great actor to work with. I mean, yeah, Arya Par had some great talent. Uh, Everybody would come with some surprise or the other. You know. No, I think it's a great thought to convey into mainstream storytelling. Because people, the larger audience, they don't watch documentaries or they don't read about the environment uh, implications that civilization has put. You know, so if it comes in the main form of entertainment and you convey a message, I think that's a great concept. This thing, so it is a new world, and people probably have not realized it because. Uh, you have not been, people in the city have not experienced being in a village, you know. So it's a whole lot of different district, but they think it's northeast is far off, and Uttarakhand and Himachals, and it was, but it all boils down to this, you know, because it all joins the whole uh, geography of our country. It's a peninsula. So from the height, it has to come this thing, and the sea level rising and the landslides happening up in the north. It will there'll be a collateral sometime, if we don't stop. And you can't just do it by WhatsApp and things. There has to be action. It has to be told in the classes. It can't be just a chapter. You know, it has to be explained. And very soon, we are seeing the effect of the flooding and the landslides and the earthquakes and things like that. But we are still not taking it seriously. We always have this thing like, apne sat to nahi hoga. It won't happen in our lifetime. But it just takes one bad day. Yes, see, if a story is new or a concept is new, it is always scary. People like it, but they won't buy it. Like, it took us 2 years to pitch Woe. So everybody is to like it, but they didn't know where to place it. Is it a children's show? Is it this thing? See, when you go against the grain to tell a story, you know, you need the support system because it's not the common path, or a common topic that people are experiencing on different channels and things like that. So when a story is a narrative is different, people usually take a pause and they look from a distance. Yeah, interesting here, but is it a good story? You know, I mean, the same they must have said with Lagan also. How can you play cricket with Duttu? It was a risky, but yeah, Amir believed in it. The people who associated, they all believed in it. And if it was not made, you would have lost a great story like Lagan, So similarly, like Wo was different. This, so any new concept and you are trying to this thing, it always has a certain amount of pushback from the people who are consuming it or who are, uh, you know, sitting with on a chair to make a decision. But I think you have to try to be different, uh, not different for the sake of being different, and try to take topics which will create awareness or a new story template. Because there are that many stories uh, ending, Uh, so a lot of channels are taking that thing of dark heroes, So the evil is good kind of a space. And it's worked because people love to see bad people do better things. So we also should try to do that good people also do good things. So that fight will be on. The trends will keep changing. You can't stop at what is there in the market. Yeah. I think the COVID, everything, the pandemic has actually changed people's viewing habits and that kind of thing. But yeah, we should realize that see, humans are social animals. They have to step out of their four walls, and go out and socialize. And uh, see, we used to make packages. This stars, this thing, one fight, good item numbers, and things like that. But today, it is not just making big scale movies. I mean, you just tell a simple story also effectively. People will still go there because they want to shop, and they want to go and experience a big screen. So yeah, there's this trend that there's only big cinemas and big scale, mega stories will work. Yeah, but a lot of people have tried. Most of them have not worked. Except a few. So that's not a this thing because we want to go out and experience as humans. So I don't think so. People are just going to stay indoors. But yeah, OTT has given them the choice. When is that one movie that I'll go and see in the theater? So well, I think we have to dig deeper, make more interesting stories to tell. Yeah, I think the easy way out is gone out of the window. See, your television is like a newspaper. You read it, the headlines today, tomorrow the news is old. You use the paper to wrap things, and put it away. OTT and films, there's actually not much difference if you in terms of storytelling. But a series gives you slightly more gestation period. y- You know, but I don't believe in the idea that if it's OTT, it has to be. It can't be big. Game of Thrones is the biggest show. But it's made for television or a OTT platform. You know what I'm saying? So, but when you're making films, we are giving example of Game of Thrones, the battles of this thing. So, where is the difference then? If you're making a film and say that the battle should be like Game of Thrones, that means you're using what is made for television for the big screen. You know, so the scale is not the thing. I think it's the emotion. Like Rajamouli once he said, like I don't make big scenes. I write characters and a story, and if the character happens to be huge, then automatically my background becomes big. If I want to show him lifting a shivling, so which is very true. So you're remaining true. We are not corrupting the soul of your story. Whereas a lot of people do the other way around. They write or make something thinking, "Arey, audience will like this," but are you liking it? If I'm not liking what I'm writing, then how will they like it? So you have to like what you're writing and what you're making versus anticipating nahi ye audience ko acha lagega you know so your whole purpose as a maker is different the moment you start anticipating what will the audience. You have to enjoy what you're making you know and if it's got the right balance and ingredients, then the audience will definitely like it. It can't be every living human has seen it. No, I mean the numbers will differ, but You have to like what you're writing, not the other way around. यानी ये ऑडियंस को पसंद होगा, ये गाना अच्छा लगेगा, आपको अच्छा लग रहा है, then you know it is the starting point. At least that's how I understand. House Vishnu was basically Aftab and the writer Ravinder Manga. They had written the stories, so which I found it very cute, lovable, uh, innocence. So it had its own innocence in that it was not corrupted in that sense. So it was like a fairy tale to be told very simply. Whereas Jaane Hoga Kya was the fascination to see Judwawai, you know, twin brothers, but lost in the Mela and all. You have seen it so many times in so many films, but you're always fascinated by it. So how do you make it different? So we thought of इनको clone करते हैं. Let's use science fiction. So you have two guys looking the same, but one is a scientist, one is a guy. He's created, in the lab. He's not a human. He's fabricated. You know how it can go wrong. Like today, artificial intelligence is becoming part of our life. It's the same thing. But that time we use cloning. But if you change it to today, it is like you're creating another reflection of you, but it doesn't have your emotions. It doesn't have your thoughts. It has only what you have fed into it. And yeah, that can definitely go wrong. No, it was not a conscious effort to this thing. So Bo was very successful. So all the channels that time, most, so they wanted one show of us, which is horror or thriller, to be made by us, thing like that. So he got trapped into your own success. But I definitely like all kinds. I like slice of life. I like a good love story, or something which is relevant to this thing, a good biopic. Because yeah, so there was this trend. Now the recent trend was making biopics, but all great men or women may not necessarily make a good story for the big screen. You know what I'm saying? So you have to have the personality which will translate into a good story for the big screen or a small screen. You know. So, but people went with okay, biopic chalega chalega, that kind. Then suddenly it became a herd mentality. So yeah, I think following the trend limits you. Keep watching whatever we believe in. So because, like I mentioned, our journey starts by we liking what we are creating, and then we pray that people also uh, share the same, view about content that we create, and yeah, celebrate good stories, inspire.